Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Lesroy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
Good afternoon and welcome to Working for You. I am Lesroy Williams. I do hope that you had a very restful emancipation weekend, Culturama, festivities in Nevis, and so on. You're rested, and now that you're back to work. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's program. We appreciate your company very much. Today we are going to be discussing something that is important to us and something that we should preserve, and that is our heritage. Heritage in so many ways. We'll be talking about that. And I have with me someone who I'm going to ask to introduce herself. She is from the St. Christopher National Trust.
Good afternoon, Lesroy. Good afternoon to our listening and viewing audience. My name is Willis Percival and I'm the Executive Director at the St. Christopher National Trust. And our motto there is the heritage belongs to all of us. So it's important for us to discuss that today.
There we go. The heritage belongs to all of us. I will begin by asking you, what is the mission of the St. Christopher National Trust?
To protect, to preserve, to promote, to conserve our heritage, whether it's tangible or intangible, whether it's in the seawater, whether it's in the mountain, whether it's built, whether it's something that it's a custom or culture. We are responsible for protecting it, promoting it, and conserving it.
Okay, protecting, conserving, and what was the other
Promoting.
one? And promoting.
Yes.
Okay, so when we talk about our heritage, we can talk about our national heritage, we can talk about our cultural heritage, and we can talk about our historical heritage. And we can also speak about heritage sites,
Yes.
and so on. Now, what are some of the things that the St. Christopher National Trust is involved in terms of preserving our national heritage?
For us at the National Trust, we were, when it became the St. Christopher National Trust, when it evolved from the St. Christopher Heritage Society, which started in, I think it's 1989, it was evolved into the National Trust by Act of Parliament in 2009. And at that time, we were given 5 sites to manage and to develop, to promote, again, and to show what, that part of our culture. And so the focus now really is looking at these sites and seeing how we can rehabilitate them, restore them for reuse and to promote what they did at that time. So right now we're focused on 3 sites.
Mm-hmm.
We are focused on the building we're in, the Old Treasury building, and restoring it, and we are focused on the Spooners Cotton Ginnery, and our focus will then go to the Charles Fort in Sandy Point.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the 3 sites we are kind of trying to work with right now, and it's expensive. So I know a lot of people are accustomed to hear me talk about the financial struggles that we have at the St. Christopher National Trust, but the struggles are real.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're supposed to really be doing what we're supposed to be doing there, then we must be financially able to do our work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now you spoke about the Old Treasury building.
The home of the
And
St. Christopher
yes,
National Trust.
and the building was really completed from my research in 1894. The present building
Right.
was completed in 1894, replacing a wooden structure
Right.
which also had an archway
Right.
through which people arriving and leaving the island would pass,
Yes.
leading the building being referred to as the
Gateway
gateway
to
to Bastia.
That's correct.
Now that building houses the National Museum.
Yes, it does. On the first
Okay.
floor.
So the building holds a lot of history to it.
It does. It does. It is one of the oldest building in St. Kitts, I must say.
It's one of the
Standing,
oldest buildings.
especially in Bastia. Yes.
And of course, it has served several generations
Several.
of public servants, you know, in almost every department of government at one point in time.
That is correct.
But it was not maintained. And hurricanes and all of that sort of a thing gave it a battering. But
Well,
now you said you're trying to restore it.
Yes. And the process is very long, I must say. Since I've been there, I know that even before I went there, we had begun to do work internally. So we did a lot of work internally, especially downstairs in the offices and the gift shop area, where we did a lot of internal renovation work to bring it to the way it is now. We're on the right side. If you're
Yes.
facing Bastia, it houses the gift shop. And on the left side, it houses our documentation center and our executive offices. And the entire floor upstairs is the museum. But we did a lot of work internally, also to the museum. But the museum was renovated, the actual museum display, not the building, not the inside walls. Those we couldn't touch because, of course, it required us to, have expert on hand to tell us how to do those work. And that's where the process lied. They did a lot of work initially. I think might have been in 2000, 2002, they did a lot of work. And sad to say, they used the wrong materials on the building, and that is what compounded the problem as it is now, where we had to put up hoarding because it keeps falling off, the inside keeps breaking off, and we have a lot of leakage inside the building. So, and because what we have inside, we can't continue to have water coming into the building. Water coming into the building will weaken the building as well, because it's from limestone, and if the water is going in and it's not coming out, the moisture is not coming out, it soften the limestone inside, and then it start to flake and fall off. We had a long process of getting where we are today, almost a year later, where we had to find experts in those buildings, and we're very, very happy to say that we found the experts in Trinidad, and we have been working with both the engineer from Trinidad and a building heritage company, restoration and maintenance company, who've been working with us to lead us, guide us on the process of how we can get this building restored properly. It's a lot of work, and those persons who are in construction and building know we got the bill of quantities about a month ago from the engineer and the QS who came to St. Kitts and looked at the building, and it's astonishing that just to fix it, it's $1 million.
$1 million US.
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
It is. It is. But we have expended couple $100,000s already, because of course every time we bring the persons here from Trinidad, it's an expense. And I must say that the government has been working with us in terms of assisting with financing and to get the experts in and to look at the building. They've been working with us, so we're really eternally grateful for that. That part of the process could have been done smoothly, and so now we're at the phase now where we can actually send out for tenders for the work to be done on the building. So we are at a very good stage now, and I'm excited that we can begin to do work and see the building come back to its former glory. Yeah.
Now, what are some of the exhibits that have been launched by the National Museum?
Since I've been there, we've been focused a lot on educating our citizens and visitors, and we decided to do that through the exhibits that we put on.
Yes.
So we've had several exhibits since I've been there. We call them special exhibits because it's different to the fixed exhibit that exists in the museum. So we've had statehood, exhibit, and that exhibit was about, you know, our journey from statehood, or when we were joined up in Anguilla,
An associated,
right, the associated state to independence. So that exhibit spoke to that journey. And then we had Inside Government House, which exhibited what really happens in Government House,
Yes.
what's the purpose of Government House. Then we had the Slave Register exhibit. That was a really big exhibit for us. It demonstrated the 1817 register of slave. It's the first time that a register was done of slave, and it was
Yes.
done in, I think, it's 1817, I think it was, or maybe just after the emancipation. Then we had the emancipation journey, which showed the journey, the first 100 years from emancipation to, it might have been the Buckley's Riot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it was 1834 to 1934. Right. So we had those. And then just recently we had the How Music Feels art exhibit. And right now we're running the Cleghorns Journals exhibit.
Okay, could you tell us a little bit more about the Cleghorn
The
journals?
Cleghorn Journals was done by Ralph Cleghorn. He was a special magistrate that was appointed. He was the only local special magistrate. His father was a white man and his mother was a black woman. And I'm talking off the top of my head, so I hope that I get it correct. Now, he was appointed a special magistrate, and he kept the journals of the cases he tried. And so that is what is on exhibit today, the journals of his cases. I think we have 6 books on display. You can't touch the books, but we have most of it on screens that you can sit and read. And I've encouraged persons, when we had the launch of that exhibit, which was launched as part of our emancipation celebrations for 2018, that we launched this exhibit. That would have been last week, Wednesday, on the 1st of August. And so I've encouraged persons to come and sit and read, because it is so important for you to appreciate what happened then when the slaves, you know, were taken to court, or they took their employers. It's not no master, because emancipation would have been thing, but a lot of them were dissatisfied with the way the process was then. Even though they were emancipated,
Yes.
they were still forced to work, if I clearly remember, 40.5 hours a week
Right.
without pay before they can begin to get paid. And so it speaks of the various cases that Cleghorn tried. And what is interesting and unique is that Ms. O'Flaherty indicated that St. Kitts is the only country that have these journals in our archives. And so it's important for persons to go and really read and appreciate our history through those, you know, journals, what happened in that era.
Okay, now how long will that exhibit go
That
for?
exhibit, it starts on the 1st, it goes for a month, so it ends on the 31st of August. Just for a month we have it.
Just for 1 month.
Yes, yes, just for a month.
Limited.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a special exhibit, another one that'll be coming up in October, I think it is, and it's an exhibit on commerce in St. Kitts. And that one we're working on. This exhibit takes a lot of time to put together, I must tell you. They take a lot of time, they take a lot of resources. We have to do the research, we have to make sure the information is accurate and correct, we have to make sure that it's presented accurate and correct, and that persons get the appreciation and the information we want to dispel through these exhibits. Because like I said, it's important that we educate our people, and we do this through the exhibits. Persons really need to come to the museum. If you are a member, it's free. You get access to the museum free. You get access to the exhibit free. For non-members, it's 5 EC, and you get to visit the museum and the exhibit. And for visitors, persons who are non-resident, it's 5 US.
Okay. Now, you mentioned something earlier about money.
Yes, money.
My question is, how is the work of the St. Christopher National Trust funded?
Yes.
How is it funded?
We get a subvention from the government. We do. It's small. We get a subvention from the government every month. And then we get membership fees. We get monies through visitors at the museum, which is our one of our largest income earning. We get money from the gift shop and grants. Grants are a big thing. We get an administrative fee from grants. Grants are specific to projects, so we can't just spend them for anything. but we get an administrative, sometimes it's almost like 5-10% of the grand total that we get that as administrative cost. But and then we get donations from persons, so that makes up the bulk of how we make money. I must tell you, every year we struggle. We're in the red, and we're not afraid to say that, because our accounts are published. They're not hidden accounts, and they should be published. They should be presented to Parliament as well, which we do. We present them to the Minister.
Right.
And so our accounts are public accounts. We have AGM every year, and the members see the accounts. So they're not hidden, they see, and they know it's in red.
They know it's in red.
Yeah, so we would like
So you're
to...
trying to take it out of the red.
Very much so, very much so. The work that we do is important, and you know, I don't think that we get to do a lot of what we're supposed to do, because, you know, we don't have the resources. We can't hire the correct people because we can't pay them, and those we have, you know, we the resources that we need to do the work that we really want to do, you know, it kind of hinders us. So we do play a nice game in the office of balancing important and what's not important and putting away, you know, but we do, you know, our best to do efforts, and we do a lot of special events like the special exhibits. We have two that we call the Night at the Museum, so that's a special event where it's a special invitation only, and you make a contribution and you attend and you get first dig to the exhibit. We had other events, that fundraising events, like the Children Heritage Series, and this is the second year we're doing it, and we could talk a little bit about that later.
That's the storytelling.
Yes, and the good thing about that is that the children come free, and we have persons who step forward and sponsor a day, or it's held every Saturday between July and August. And so we have people who sponsor that, and then one of our major fundraiser is our annual train ride, and that's upcoming on the 17th of September this year. And for those persons, they know it's fun. We have a lot of fun, and people have actually begun to make a party out of it. They get the group together and they bring the cooler and the music, and we try to say don't play it too loud. But you know, we encourage that. We encourage, you know, organizations, persons, companies to, you know, buy a cart. You know, a cart hold 40 persons, and, you know, make a contribution to the St. Christopher National Trust.
Okay.
But right now, we have our annual Heritage Appeal that's been going on. It's not new, but we reintroduced it in February this year. And so it's something that we have been asking persons, corporations, persons to donate to the National Trust, you know, because we need the monies. I remember the other day on one of our calling programs, somebody asked, so how do we know that you use the money for what you say you're going to use it for? And again, I stress our accounts are published.
This is a legitimate concern.
Yes, our accounts are published. You could come. We have also a week in the year where we're open to the public. You could come and ask any questions, look at what we do, see how we do it, and understand what we do there. So we are not a private, silent, you know, hiding away. We're very open to persons, and you know, people can come and know what we do. But I come back to my Heritage Appeal Fund, and we launched that earlier this year, and we sent out a lot of letters. That's why, I mean, we went begging, because our goal really was to raise 500,000 EC. It's $500,000. I know there's one somebody could just write that check, right, and send it and say, here you go, don't work so hard trying to get, you know, the rest of it would be not change. But we haven't seen that check yet, so I'm hoping I will see it before Friday or Saturday this week. But as a thank you for those persons who contributed, and we've had persons who contributed, we under the patronage of His Excellency Sir Tapley, we are going to host a thank you gala at Government House Saturday night. And so we want to encourage persons to come forward, make your donation, and be part of this thank you gathering that is going to showcase our history. It's really going to be centered around our heritage and our history. The food will be very heritagey, the entertainment will be very heritagey. You know, we really want to
I don't know what you mean by heritagey. Maybe you can explain.
Well, it will be more heritage. There will be, you know, the heritage food, the food around that. So it won't be chicken and rice and those kind of things. We really
Give
try
us some examples of what you're talking about.
Well, we will have like the soups, the goat waters, you know.
I
we'll
see,
have-
I see. Okay.
We'll have the all our wines are local wine. Every
black
wine
pudding
you
and
drink,
so on.
yes, every
Mhm.
wine you come and drink will be locally made wine by the women, the Foy's women, I think it is, where we're
Mhm.
going to get the wines from. So don't come and expect barefoot or those other kind of wine. No, we'll have local wines and local juices, and
Mhm.
and we want you to come and appreciate our heritage and our history.
Okay. And you're doing this as in appreciation
Yes, for those
for,
persons.
in their contribution
Yes,
to the
yes.
Heritage Appeal Fund.
Yes. And
Okay.
persons can contribute. They can the minimum contribution is $250. But if you can't afford the $250, we'll take whatever you can.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we don't want to tell you if you don't have the $250 you can't contribute. Please, we
Right.
accept every penny hit me counts. So we're grateful for that.
Right. Now we just had emancipation,
Yes.
of course, on August 1st. Is there anything that the St. Christopher National Trust is doing for emancipation?
Well, like I said
We're still in
earlier,
the month.
we
and-
launched the exhibit, the
Mhm.
Cleghorn Journals exhibit. So that is what we're doing as part of our emancipation. It tells, even though it's about the journals, it also tells a brief history of the emancipation. So the
Yes.
proclamation is there for persons to read it and to understand what happened at emancipation. It gives a brief story of the process between emancipation and the journey, which is we call I can't remember the word, but there was a period between
Emancipation and
yeah, I think
apprenticeship.
apprenticeship, right?
Mhm.
So this exhibit speaks to
Right.
some of that. So
Okay.
that's what we're doing. But we've been challenged by the president at the opening of this exhibit to one day be able to launch an exhibit on the Christina. Because of course, the 1st of August was also the time when the Christina sank. And so it's a challenge that I gladly accept, and I'm hoping that, for the 50th anniversary of that Christina, that we can
Yes.
launch a special exhibit on the Christina and make it really something grand.
Right.
But people keep talking about that we don't have a memorial in St. Kitts for the Christina disaster, and so I am also up to that challenge to
Okay.
put forward a proposal for memorial for the Christina disaster and those persons who survived that, and be able to memorialize. Did I call the word correct?
Memorialize.
Memorialize, right?
Mhm.
Those persons who passed on that day.
Right.
And so, Nevis have two.
Mhm.
So we need to get one in St. Kitts.
Okay. Now, what about this Emancipation Festival? Does that fall under that's on August 19th at Brimstone
that's Brimstone
Hill?
Hill. That's done by the Brimstone Hill Society.
That's the Brimstone Hill Society.
Yes. And of
Okay.
course, we do partner with them, so we promote it for them. We share it with our membership, and we encourage persons, to participate. But direct involvement, no. It's the Brimstone Hill Society.
Okay.
And it looks exciting, so I hope persons can attend.
Mhm.
I've been to several of them before, so I know it's fun. And I encourage persons to participate and attend that.
Mhm. Now, we spoke about the natural heritage. Now, in terms of the protection of coral reefs, is there a project
Yes.
that the St. Christopher National Trust has?
It's
Could you
not-
tell us more about that?
It's not driven by the St. Christopher National Trust. It's actually a project that is being driven by the Ministry of Environment. It's a long project, and it's sponsored by the UNDP. It's a project that looks to protect our natural resources, both the mountains, the Nevis Peak, our rainforest. I think it's the Basia Valley, and then 5 zones, I think, in around St. Kitts and Nevis that has been earmarked as protected around in the waters. So that area, that is dealing with the protection of the coral reef. We're partnering with them. We're part of the council, and soon the National Trust will be doing promotion on what is the purpose of protecting these areas and how they can be protected. So that is our involvement. We would be putting forward, promotional campaign to, sensitize visitors and residents of the protected areas, where they are, why we're protecting them, the purpose of protecting them, how can they protect them. And so that is something we'll be doing shortly.
Okay, good. Now, heritage, or preserving our heritage, than the importance of preserving our heritage. Of course, our main industry right now is that of tourism.
Yes.
Could you tell me, how do you see the two? Tourism
Oh, I
and
see
heritage.
the marriage has taken place. Some people just have not acknowledged it yet, but we cannot continue to have tourism without heritage. We must be able to begin to distinguish ourselves from the other islands, and that can only be done through our heritage, which is unique to us. The sea, sand, and all the other essays in between, everybody have them. All the islands have them, so that does make us much unique, or more unique than them. So we need to begin to distinguish ourselves, and it is for that reason why we have focused on the restoration of these sites, because this is the first step in creating a product that is heritage based for tourism. And so, take for instance the Schooners Ginnery that we've started work on, and we are hoping that it will be finished for the next cruise season, and that now becomes another site that taxis can drive to and stop and allow visitors to appreciate what that part of our history is about. The ginnery, what we did there, the conversion from sugar to cotton there, the machines, how they work, what we produced, and to have a site that that they can now stop at and appreciate another part of our history.
Right. So, tourism, or we can talk about cultural heritage tourism.
Yes.
And how do you see that as providing opportunities, for example, for small business, or preserving communities?
It's it's really interesting that is what the focus was. And I must say, before I go into that part of it, the OIS had launched a project about 3-4 years ago, and that was the gist of the project. It had 5 components to it, and they picked 5 islands to test the components. We were tested on the registry.
Yes.
So the registry was part of how you document what you have.
Right.
So we were the pilot country for the registry. Grenada was the pilot project for the heritage-based tourism. How do you get entrepreneurs to develop heritage-based products and services? And so Grenada was for that. And I think, you had Barbados, where they set up through UWE, the training for persons in this field. And then we had the legislation. I think there was another component, I just can't remember the 5th one, but those were the components. Now, when we all met together in Barbados last year, February could have been, to look at how the components, all the ministers of culture and or tourism were there from all the islands, because OS now saying, look, we've developed it, we've tested it, we're now telling you the benefits of it. And so our Minister of Culture was there as well, along with the ministers from the other CARICOM countries. And so it goes to show that we have begun to set up ourselves strategically to be heritage based for tourism. People want to have unique experiences when they come to an island, and the only way you can give it is through your heritage. And let's look at Park Hyatt.
Yeah, I think in the past 10 years or so, tourists, that is basically what they're looking for.
Yes.
And you correctly said it. I mean, yes, you may have some people who are looking for sand, sea, and sun.
Yes.
But as you correctly said, you can get that right. And so people looking for something unique,
Yes.
a unique experience.
I was saying that even Park Hyatt, they have used our heritage in the way they present their packages to their guests. So the restaurants over there are named from various sites in St. Kitts. They have developed, heritage tours for their guests. So they have focused a lot on selling their hotel or their establishment based on the heritage of St. Kitts. And if they can do it, we can do it too. So we need to begin to develop our heritage for the benefits of locals who can, the spin-off in terms of work, and for the visitors. Now, when you take Spooners, we will have a gift shop, we will have an artisan center, we will have a coffee shop. Persons will be able to sell products around. So there's a spin-off for entrepreneurship.
Right.
Similarly, when we go to Sandy Point and we begin to develop Charles Fort, the similar thing, you creating opportunities for the locals to be able, because the National Trust don't necessarily have to be the one managing the site or managing the gift shop. We can lease it out and we just collect rent and we move on with our happy selves.
Right.
So Brimstone Hill has done that. They have leased out their gift shop. They have there's a bar there, it's not theirs, it's leased. So you see where it is, and so you create those opportunities for persons.
Right. Because development really needs culture.
Yes.
And sustainable tourism is equal to sustainable development. And there can be no sustainable tourism without culture.
Yeah.
And that is why we have to preserve our cultural heritage.
And it's important. It's very, very important. And persons need to realize the importance of the St. Christopher National Trust in this role in terms of preserving our heritage. And if it's not done, then who will do it? It is our role, and we gladly take up the challenge. But again, I say we need financial support to get it done. We can't do it without the help from the communities. And we do have a lot of persons out there who call and they donate their time. We have a lot of volunteers. We have people who gladly donate financial resource, and so we are grateful. Besides the staff, everybody else are volunteer. The board of volunteers, committees are volunteers, the project managers for our project, they're volunteers. Everybody is volunteers. So, we are grateful for that. And it helps us to be able to get our work done, because persons step forward and say, I would volunteer, I would help in this work that you do at the St. Christopher National Trust.
Now, in terms of the National Trust Act,
Yes.
I think that is what really established the St. Christopher National Trust. And you have, of course, some heritage sites.
Yes.
Could you tell us what some of those heritage sites are and the importance of those heritage sites?
Let's start at the petroglyphs in Challengers. That's a bloody point. Now, that site is where the Caribs used to live before they got massacred. And so the protection of those inscriptions on the wall, so to speak, that you walk, if you go the whole journey up the riverbed, you will see the inscriptions. It's important for us to protect that. It's one of the few places that we do have these petroglyphs in St. Kitts. We have done, we were able to 3D scan them to preserve them in case, something happened and the whole thing caves in and they're no longer there. But one of the development for that site, the proposal is to build a Carib village there, that persons can appreciate how the Carib lived in those days, and for persons to see what they use, what the different huts were for, and to present that part of our culture. We didn't really have a lot of the Carib remaining, because they were driven out after the massacre, and who weren't murdered there ran away to the different islands and so forth. So it's good to share that level of our history with persons, locals and visitors. Again, it's an opportunity for for entrepreneurship in
Sure.
that area.
Mhm.
And so that's that site. Then we go down and we have the Charles Fort, which is in Sandy Point. Now,
Yes.
Charles Fort preceded Brimstone Hill. It is actually older than Brimstone Hill, and it is a fort where it's a fort. You don't have to wonder if it's a fort, it's a fort. The walls are there, the thick walls are there.
All the characteristics of a
Everything
fort.
of a fort is
Mhm.
there, everything. Now, that has double history, because after the British and the French abandoned it, it stayed there for a while, and then it became the leprosy asylum for persons of that nature,
Yes,
for the
lepers.
region,
Mhm.
right? So it's not only Kittians, they brought them there and they stayed there, and they were there until it might have been 1987 or something like that when it closed down. So the challenge for us is, how do we present that to history, to our
Yes.
to our guests, persons who go to the site? How do we present it? So that is something we're really working on right now. Then we have the Belmont Estate, and Belmont Estate is supposed to be developed into a sugar estate. Show you how sugar was made before we had the factory, the main
Mhm.
factory. And so that is the plan for Belmont. Of course, we've not really done much there. We visited there to see what state it was in sometime last year, but it will require a lot of work for us to get it to where we want it to be.
Right.
After Belmont, we have Mansion Estate, and I'm so happy to say that we have begun to clean up Mansion Estate. Mansion Estate is a huge site. It's about 8-something acres of property, and these estates we own are just the estate yards and buildings. So the outer part of the estates we don't own, just the estate yards and buildings. So the chimneys, the those kind of things, we own those. And so Mansion have maybe about 8 properties on it, and we have just recently asked and gotten approval for Parks and Beaches to clean up Mansion Estate for us. Now, I must say that they did a fantastic job cleaning Charles Fort and maintaining it. And when I said fantastic, Charles Fort is about 5 acres enclosed in the fort walls. And when first time I went there, I was told I can't even pass the gate or I could get lost. It was such a jungle, and it is so cleaned up. I mean, those guys did a fantastic job, the Parks and Beaches team. And we have a permanent team there who maintains it for us, and we're grateful for that. Now, we've asked them to go to Mansion, and we're excited that yes, they're going to start. I think they started, and so to get that area cleaned up, and so now persons can go. You may not be able to tour, but you get to appreciate the buildings there, and they use what they were for. I want to be able to see the estate house, the big house, because I'm told it has 21 rooms in it. And,
Yes. There's a big house there. You have the windmill.
Yes, and the chimney.
You have the chimney.
And then you have 2 manager estate houses and some other, stuff there. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I talked passionately about Mansion Estate because we went there about a month ago, and we realized that somebody stole the copper.
Yes.
And I want the copper back, so I'm pleading with persons to return the copper. Now I tell them,
The copper from Mansion?
Yes.
There was a big copper there with
somebody
water, and the
would have-
animals would go and drink and
yes,
so on.
and
That was stolen.
And yes, and it's sad because there are persons who do farming in the surrounding areas, and they use the copper to wash the vegetables, and it was in use. And I know you can't go and take it up.
No,
You
because
have
it's
to take
extremely
a
heavy.
crane to take it up, and it has to be moved. So somebody got a crane or a back or something and move this copper, and they really need to put it back. We've asked them nicely to please put it back.
Yes.
So I want to stress that they need to put it back.
That is very
it's
wrong.
Stealing, the losses, you can be fined. You can face term sentence because it's an artifact. So that's the first thing. And then you went on private property and removed something. So those 2.
It's not yours. You don't take something that is not yours.
And and that's why I've said copper don't come on board, it don't come on plane. So we will find the copper wherever it is. Now it's better for you to just return it than for us to find it. right? So we turn it and say you didn't know. I don't know what you didn't know, but the court does say ignorance is no excuse of the law. So even if you didn't know, we turn it because it's of value to us. What we have tried to do is remove the coppers from those sites and put them at specific places where they can be protected. So we have done that in some cases where we've moved copper from certain of the estate yards and placed them, in protected areas. You see there at Silver Reef, you might see one or two, yes.
Right.
And so we understand that, we put them there. And so they can be protected and preserved and shown for persons to appreciate, that part of it. So Mansion is being cleaned up, yes, and we're excited about that. Mansion, the purpose of Mansion, or what we intend to use it for, is for like a botanical gardens and the study of plants and so forth in St. Kitts. So, but the National Trust got an offer a year ago to develop a recipe for a fermented drink made from soil. And so I was so excited about that and, wanted to say, yes, we have Mansion Estate, we have the buildings there, we can probably set up a factory now, and people can come and, appreciate, even the plants that we go there and use and test, but, that the one food that, that we use to make a drink in St. Kitts, that's synonymous with us, the soil, and so to have a fermented wine made from it would have been a great, opportunity. But, we're still working on it.
Okay, so we have Bloody Point, we have Charles Fort,
Mansion.
Belmont Estate,
Yes.
Mansion Estate,
Then now you have Spooners.
Spooners, that is Spooners Ginnery.
Yes. And Spooners Ginnery, the yard and the buildings on it, from the Spooners Estate. And like I said, we've begun work there to restore the Ginnery. Hopefully it can be completed by the end of the year and we can have a grand opening and, that kind of thing.
Now, you recently had some help, I think, from the U.S. Embassy.
Yes. We received a grant from the U.S. Embassy for the restoration work at the Spooners Ginnery. And I must say, just for phase 1 of the Ginnery, it was 470-something thousand EC. And so grateful to the government for committing to fund us the remaining monies to finish phase 1 of the project. And so yes, we got a grant from the United States Embassy in Bridgetown for the Ambassadors Fund for Cultural Preservation, and that came in handy. That gave us a real kickstart, and so the government has stepped forward and committed the remaining funds for the project, which we're grateful for. The project is being undertaken by Stephen Liebert Construction, and our project manager is Lindbergh Alvarenga.
Okay. Could you tell us a bit in terms of what used to go on at the Spooners Ginnery?
They made cotton.
Why is it important
Yes.
to preserve it? Because, we are preserving certain things, but sometimes people don't understand the importance
the
of why you
reason,
want
yes.
to put behind the preservation.
It's one of the only ginnery that is standing in St. Kitts of that nature. And it shows the transition from sugar cultivation to cotton, and so preserving it is of great importance for us because, of course, like I say, it shows the transition, how this estate transitioned from sugar to cotton, and it went up to a long time. So there are people even who are still alive who work there. So it's not It's not from the 16th and 17th. It came into being in the early 1900s. And so it was important for us to preserve it. And, strange enough, even though it was overrun with shrubs and trees, and so they protected the machinery in the ginnery.
Right.
So preserving it is of importance because, like I said, it showed the transition from that one part of our culture to the next. And we wanted to showcase that. Now, they made cotton there, but there were 4 byproducts of the cotton. They made soap, cotton oil, and feed. Yes, it was 4 plus the cotton. And feed for animals. So those were the byproducts of it. Mr. Warner might be calling and say, no, you forgot the next one, but that's fine. So yeah, it's important for us to show. And some of the machines still have the oil there from when they made the oil, and it's good. And we are trying, part of the project is to restore one of the machines to show how it works. And we've had a lot of help with this restoration project.
Yes.
We've had Mr. Pension, who came by and did a documentary on what took place there, and how it worked, and so forth and whatnot. So persons who come to the gala will be able to see that documentary as well, done by Mr. Pension.
Okay, so it's Spooner's Ginnery. What
Yes.
else?
And of course the National Trust, the old Treasury building.
The old Treasury building. Any other?
No, I think that's it. Did I left anything out? No. We don't know. The sugar factory. That might be something really interesting. But I
The
know
old sugar factory.
yes, the National Trust had put forward a proposal to have a portion of it vested into us so that we can do the show, do a museum.
Yes.
And just a couple of weeks ago, Sir Tapley asked me for that proposal, so we would have had to identify that section. But some of the equipment I know were vested in the National Trust, and we have taken steps to protect them, and we have given some of the artifacts to Kipishan Hill that they have on display, but in trust for the National Trust or for the people of St. Kitts. Christopher Harbour have some that they have in trust for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. So it just, we do it that way to make sure that we don't have them lost forever.
Okay, now in terms of the literature and all of these heritage sites, they can be found at the
Yes.
museum.
Anything on St. Kitts can be found at our documentation
You
center.
have a documentation
Yes.
center that is
Yes.
there, and
Yes.
it can be found.
Yes. The history on not only those estates but all the estates. You can find information on all the estates there, who owned them, how much slaves were on them, who bought them, when they were bought, that kind of thing. We have all of that history at our
Okay,
documentation.
now how is the heritage sites marketed, for example, for tourists? They have island tours and so on. Are these,
No.
these sites on the stop for the tourists?
No. Again, because they're not ready for that.
They have not been restored sufficiently.
They're not. We were trying to get Charles Fort on a stop, but we would have had to put in some amenities, the bathrooms and stuff like that, because if persons don't drive away and they stop, they might want to use the bathroom. So we had to, that was the process. Now, we didn't want to go and just drop structures. So what we have done for Charles Fort is come up with a layout of some ideas of what we want to do there, so that when we put down, there are structures there, mind you, there are bathrooms there, I must tell you, the structures are there, the bathrooms are there, we just need to make them more, upgrade them and
Yes.
modernize them. So structures are there, and of course we were thinking, like I said, to put Charles Fort out there ASAP, and to kind of conjoin it with Brimstone Hill, because they are conjoined. They one after the other, they're related, they're sisters. Brimstone Hill came about from Charles Fort when the French attacked the English and they ran up the hill. So Brimstone Hill really manages the fort for us. They look after it for us, and so because it's right there as well.
Yes.
But we've not been able to put any of the other sites on the map because they're not passable. That's why we're trying now to clean up Mansion and Schooners, and Charles Fort has been cleaned up. So it's possible that with some, if we get the funds, just especially to put down the amenities in Charles Fort, then we can open it up with a proper interpretation where persons can walk around and read the history, so forth. Same thing for Mansion. We clean it up, we'll be able to say, yes, you can come and stop. But again, it has to have some interpretation there. Person got to come and be able to read the history, not just you come in there and, just walk around It has to make sense for you to stop there. And first, to present it as a product, it has to be presentable for persons, for it to worth the while of visitors to make the stop.
Now, the museum is perhaps one of the first stops that tourists make
Yes.
when they come off of the cruise ships.
We need more tourists to stop there.
Right. Now, how do you get this across to the tourists in terms of how they can contribute? Because many tourists, of course, are looking for, they're coming for cultural heritage. And if you can be able to put this across to them that, look, can you contribute to us helping to develop our cultural heritage? I'm sure many of them would be happy to do that.
And they do contribute. We do have donation boxes in the museum and the gift shop, and we do encourage persons. We talk with them and they understand what we're trying to achieve, and they do make their donations and contributions. One of the process that I've asked to be implemented is that at the end of the month, every visitor that comes in, they get to sign the visitor book. They leave their email address that we send them, thank you for visiting, and information on how they can contribute, or become members. We do encourage persons to become members, even from overseas. And so, it keeps them abreast, because once you're a member, you're kept abreast as to what we're doing. You get regularly monthly news sheet or quarterly newsletters. You get emails on what we're doing, and so whatnot. So that's where we encourage persons to be members, because if you don't understand what we're doing, you'll not understand why you need to contribute.
Okay, now tell us a bit. Now you're talking about that in terms of your membership fees and the different types of membership that a person can.
We have three levels of membership. We have student members, and it's 20 EC a year. We have regular individual members, it's 50 EC per year. And we have corporate members, it's 250 EC per year. And as a member, like I say, you get discounts. You get a lot of benefits. So the train tour, you get reduced fees. Visit to the museum is free. Visit to the dock center is free. When we have events, you get discounted rates. You get discounts in the gift shop if you want to buy something and so forth. So those are the benefits of member. Then you get your quarterly newsletter, which gives you every quarter. It tells you what we've been doing, what's been happening. You get to attend our AGM, of course, and you get to be eligible to sit on the board of directors or to become a committee member and so forth. So membership has its benefit, and you actually get to be part of what we do to protect and promote and preserve our history, our heritage, our culture.
I think that is so important. Having a national museum and the significance that has in terms of the development of a nation.
I do tell
especially in St. Kitts. I mean, we are still a young country relative to other countries in terms of our independence. This year we are going to celebrate 35 years of independence, and we really have to forge our own identity and to foster in many ways our national awareness and pride among our citizens.
It's important, and that's really the role of the St. Christopher National Trust. Really, that's our role, that's our function, that's what we do. We are about, making sure that our heritage, people understand what it's about, why we need to protect it, and how we can protect it. And it's a task, and I keep saying over and over again, of course it cannot be done without resources. NGOs struggle all the time with financially. NGOs struggle all the time financially, and the input that we don't need to be depending on the government when we do have persons out there who can support more heavily. It's just the other day I'm saying that every year we have Carnival, and a lot of our corporate partners, they give big monies into Carnival. They give 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 every year into Carnival, and we are saying, we've put this appeal out there to you. We need you to put that kind of money into this, because the benefit, Carnival is for a period, but when you invest into the St. Christopher National Trust, the benefit is far-reaching, way far-reaching than investing in Carnival. because you will be able to see it
Yes.
in the long run. You will be able to benefit from it, because if we have more visitors, of course you're going to benefit. And so that is why we are appealing to the corporate community to make substantial donations to the St. Christopher National Trust. Every year budget to give us $10,000, $15,000. Cut back on Carnival and give us some of it. Give Carnival half. So if you were giving Carnival 20, give us 10, you give them 10. No, we'll work it out. And but you would see the benefit. You would benefit from it. Carnival is only for time. What you get from Carnival is marketing. What you get from here is continuous. You contribute to the development of St. Kitts, you contribute to tourism, and because if people have more to come to look forward to, more will come. And I think it was Hollywood who sang on Saturday night, we owe it to Mr. Tourism, and we do. A lot of what we do here is because of tourism. And so the appeal, our financial appeal, is to a lot of the corporate communities, those businesses who benefit from tourism, who wants to see our country develop for tourism.
Yeah.
Contribute to the St. Christopher National Trust. So I'm hoping that's why that when I leave here, I am very hopeful that I will see some of those $10,000. I know a lot of people say, well, it's the end of the year, and
and the big thing today is cultural heritage tourism.
Yes.
Tourists want to go to a place where, they can experience something different,
Yes.
something unique,
Yes.
something that is indigenous
Yes.
to the culture of a place.
And we see that all the time through the visits at the museum, especially when we had those two exhibits, the slave register exhibit and the emancipation journey exhibit. When we had persons visiting, some of them showed remorse as to what our people went through. And we ourselves need to understand what it meant for us to be enslaved, and why it is important for people to understand what that period was for us, and why it is important for us to show it, tell the story, continue to tell the story to the generations. The St. Christopher National Trust is fully ready to do that. That's what we're doing, that's what we will continue to do, but we need the financial support. That's why I'm not going to stop saying that.
If I had it, I would give it to you.
The financial, they know who I'm speaking to. Those persons who I'm speaking to are going to hear. Those persons who depend on tourists should come and say, here's $500. Those small business who depend on the tourists, they need to come and say, yes, I know what you're doing, I understand what you're doing, here's $500. Those corporate persons, those hotels and those persons need to come and say, yes, I understand what you're doing, here's $20,000. That's what we need to see, because you would see the benefit.
Do you make appeals through writing to?
Oh yes,
you do.
This appealed.
And what has the response been?
That's why I'm here.
Okay, we are going to go to the phone lines, and we want you to call in, and of course, maybe on air you can make decision how you're going to contribute to the St. Christopher National Trust.
Definitely.
And the numbers to call are 1718-577-2916. That's the overseas number, and the local number is 465-2555. So the overseas number is 1718-577-2916, and the local number 465-2555. We await your calls.
So that's why while we await calls, I want to put a challenge out there to our overseas embassies to do fundraisers on behalf of the St. Christopher National Trust. We have embassies in several states that I know that they can have fundraise dinners that can raise the funds for us. There are a lot of people out there who probably would want to donate, but they don't know how to get to us. They can send us email. We are currently working on our website, so sooner rather than later, persons will be able to donate through our website, to go online and make a donation.
Sure.
But in the meantime, they can call the office. It's 465-5584 and speak to any one of our staff there and to make a donation. We'll take your card over the phone or make an email or send a check to us. We do get those all the time. People send donations through checks, and so, you know, but I want to challenge the embassies, the embassy in Washington, the embassy in New York, those, you know, in Toronto and, you know, in the UK, to have fundraising events, your next fundraising events, and donate the funds. Create an event and said, yes, this is for the, you know, the St. Christopher National Trust for the protection. Even if they want to donate it specifically to one of the projects, they can do that. They say, look, we raise, you know, 100,000 US and we want to donate it to Charles Fort, you know, the Sandy Point Benevolent Society. They could raise that money and said, look, we want to donate it towards the work at Charles Fort in Sandy Point. Or, you know, they want to donate it towards, you know, we have to raise $1 million to fix the building, so we want to donate it towards this particular, you know, project. And so when they send money and they donate it to the project, it will go to the project.
Yes.
But of course, we still need monies to operate. So persons need to understand that when persons give money towards a project and they say it's for that, it's for that. But we want persons to understand that we need to be able to operate and to be able to function effectively. And to do that, it requires funds as well. So, you know, I hope that, you know, the embassies will take up the challenge, and they could invite us to come up at any of the fundraising events they want to have.
Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miss Williams, Willis, your old boss. I did not realize you could speak for an hour and a half non-stop. It's a new one on me. Question though.
Money, Mr. Howard.
Question. The building at the moment, the historic old Treasury building, one of the most attractive buildings in Bastille, has got this apparent scaffolding type protection around it, obviously to protect the fascia, the loose fascia at the top of the building from falling on pedestrians underneath. When will that be restored or made permanent, the fascia on the top of the building, such that the building can again display its beauty and also attract more persons to it, especially the visitors which you mentioned some time ago, who do come in there? Because at the moment it does look a bit prohibitive, as if construction work is going on there, and it could be frightening to some of those persons coming to our shows from overseas. I'll listen to your response of here. Thank you.
Thank you, our first caller. And yes, early in the conversation, I did indicate that we have been going through the process of the restoration of the old Treasury building, and the process was about a year long. It took us almost a year to get to a point where we now have a bill of quantities and we can get tendering, you know, for the restoration of the building. Now, we can't do anything without the money. And I said earlier that the total cost was $1 million US, right? So we can't do work without money. We would have liked to start this summer in getting the roof fixed, which is what he's talking about, the parapet wall. Now, the reason why it's cracking off is that they would have at some point put steel joints around and recast the building with Portland cement, and so that is what's breaking off. The moisture is in the building and it's causing the cement thing to fall off and crack off and so forth. So we really have to remove all of that from the building and redo it. I've appealed, and I will again appeal, that one of the key things we need right now is scaffolding to put it up around the building, so that when the work starts, we can have that. Now, if somebody can get up and say, look, I don't have money, but I can donate scaffolding for 3 months, that's fine, because it means therefore we don't have to pay for scaffolding to rent for 3 months. We have, for this building, we have approached, and I've said it before, we have approached Her Majesty's Prison, and we've asked for assistance from the inmates there or the residents there to assist us in the work we want to do to reduce our labor costs. And because the work is significant, we have to go and dig out all the cement from between the joints where they were pointed with cement. We have to dig them out and replace it with limestone mortar and so forth. And so it's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done. And so, you know, because it's tedious as well. But one of the good things we found out during this whole process is that the building is structurally sound. We had a structural concern, and which is why we had to get an engineer to look at it, and it's structurally sound. It's not going to fall down. We had seen a big crack down the middle, and that was our major concern. I have had discussions briefly with the chairman of SCASPA, because our engineer has raised some concerns about the piling for the new pier and whether or not it will affect the building. And so we've had brief discussions, and so it's something that we're going to be monitoring. Of course, we don't want to start repair work while piling is going on, and piling can, you know, have an effect on it. So these are things that we've been doing. As much as it may appear that nothing has been done, we have been working very, very hard at costs to get to a point, because
Yes.
we don't have the expertise here to get these things done.
You know, countries that are really worth their salt are countries that invest tremendously in their libraries,
Yep.
in their museums, in their national archives, because these are the things that tell the story of a people.
Yep.
These are the things that you know, in some ways are so intangible in the society, that which will last, and so on, to know where we have come from, to where we are today. And these things should be preserved, conserved, and money should be pumped into these things.
Yes.
And sometimes when I go to other countries and so on, I'm amazed at how well their museums are preserved and upkept, their libraries and their archives. And somehow we have to, you know, see this as important
Yes.
and some sort of a priority.
It is. It is. Where I am here today, appealing for the 10,000s and the 20,000s for persons who have it and can afford it, and understand that it's important to invest, like you say. Now, one of the things I want our
And of course, we're not just talking here public sector.
No.
We're talking about public-private partnerships
right.
to develop these national treasures, which are so important
It is.
to all of us.
It is. It is. I wanted to say that donations from our corporate community are corporate tax deductible to the St. Christopher National Trust. So if you make a donation, it's deducted from your corporate tax, and it's enshrined in our act. So, you know, persons can write it off at the bottom. Write it off to their corporate tax payments.
You know, when we think about, we spoke about the link between our culture and tourism, and that there can be no real tourism without culture. Right? Because when we talk about culture, we speak about, you know, our whole journey as a people.
Yes.
Now, also, of course, is that in terms of our development as a people, economic development and human development and sustainable development, these things cannot really happen if we don't preserve our culture, if we don't understand our culture, if we don't preserve our heritage and understand our heritage.
You know, what's
We
interesting,
will be poorer for it.
what's interesting, Leswa, is that Nevis made a bid to UNESCO to have Charlestown, listed
as a World
heritage site.
Heritage Site.
And it is because we had failed in Nevis to preserve that our tangible built heritage, that they lost the bid. And when you tell persons that you can do some things because you're really going to be destroying our heritage, they get, kind of upset at you. And it's just the other day the National Trust had to say to some persons, you can't put something there. That's a heritage site. Putting it there means then that you would be messing with the integrity of it. They weren't happy, and they find a creative way to put it there, because the site that we're talking about is the Pretoria Gardens. It used to be called Victoria Gardens. Pretoria Gardens is that area there that adjoins Ashbury.
Okay.
It's a heritage site, and we had some persons who wanted to put a big screen inside there, and we said you can't put it there because it's a heritage site, and that size, that what you're going to do there is going to mess with the integrity of the site.
Yes.
And I see they have creatively gone and bolted it onto the building. Now I said to them that if you're going to put it there, it means then that you do not respect our history. You don't respect what this stands for. And if we say you can put it there and you find a creative way to hang it out to the sky, so to speak, it means you don't respect that. And when we have people who do not appreciate or respect our history and our heritage, then that would be the challenge, that we have. And then they will destroy it.
Yes.
And it's sad when we get to that point where people
because people don't understand.
No, they don't.
And how do we get them to understand? It is basically through education.
Yes. And it's
because sometimes you destroy something, but you do not realize what you are destroying.
You could ask the Nevis community.
You are destroying your own history without even realizing it.
Yes. I remember...
and that does not only go, only in terms of, heritage sites and so on, even in terms of tourism.
Yes.
And whenever we are building and we are developing, building a pier, people may think that, it's just about building a pier. But something of the environment is lost.
Yes.
And you have to really try to see how you can mitigate the damage to the environment.
Yes.
Coral reefs are destroyed.
We had stories with that for this new pier, and the National Trust has asked the questions, because when they made the presentation and our representative went, the question was asked, where are you going to put the sand that you're going to be dredging? And they're like, we're going to dump it X places. And so when we went and we asked the questions, well, okay, if they're going to dump it here, it's really far out, but when the current flow, it's going to bring it right back onto the coral reef. Why is it you couldn't bring the sand to shore and keep it at a site for reuse that the government could have sold and make money from?
Yeah.
But you destroy a coral reef, because you did not think of that, the effects of that. And so we have those challenges.
Well, I wouldn't say they didn't think of the effects, because there was an environmental impact assessment done. But of course, with any environmental impact assessment, it really shows you the impact in terms of the damage and all of that sort of a thing that can be caused. But the real thing, though, is you want to develop, you want to construct, you want to build, but with minimum impact to the environment.
Yes.
And that is what we are talking about when we speak about sustainability. There will be something happening to the environment. We'll lose something, of course, but you're trying to minimize, of course, what you lose.
The draining of the ponds, and those things have great impact. And
while we're speaking about the environment, which is really our natural heritage, Because it's all a part of our heritage as well.
Yes.
It's our natural heritage, our oceans and our coral reefs and our vegetation, our mountains and all of that. That's all a part of our natural heritage,
Yes.
which we must preserve.
Yes.
Not just monuments,
No.
buildings, those things on the the sugar plantations and so on. And then of course we have our cultural heritage that you spoke so much about. So heritage covers quite a wide range of things. And then you spoke about our historical heritage and then our heritage sites,
Yes.
And the importance of protecting all of that.
Yes.
You have a great job to do.
And it's exciting.
And I don't believe that you are even doing quarter or a half of what the St. Christopher National Trust
It's supposed
is supposed to do. Am I correct?
We're probably doing half.
You're probably doing half.
Yes, because we do have a lot of volunteers who sit on those committees who advise us and guides us and so forth. We're in that area, so we probably are doing half, but there are much more that we can do. There are much more that we should do. There are a lot of sites out there that needs protected. There are a lot of sites out there that can be rebuilt for use. There's so much that can be done. Again, we're hindered by resources, and that's really the key. We're really hindered by resources, and more so financial, because if we have the financial resource, we will have the human resource, and so the work will get done even more. More will get done. But like you say, we are appealing. It's been what we're doing, and I want to say before we leave, thank you to those persons who have donated generously to our Heritage Appeal Fund. And as a thank you, we have our gala on Saturday night at Government House at 7 o'clock. And I'm encouraging persons to call the office 465-5584 and to make your donations and to be part of this gala on Saturday night. I want to say, Lesroy, that I have a team that's been working with me for this gala, led by Laverne Keynes, Aisha Webster, Claudia Harley, trying to remember all the names, Gary Thompson, and Williams. Can't remember her first name right now. And those are the persons who've been working with me on this gala, ensuring that it's well put together. My team at the office who've been making sure that we call around and remind persons to make their contributions so that we can be able to function effectively. It's really about the contribution. It's not about the gala. The gala is just we're saying thank you for partnering with us. And that's really what we're doing. But we want you to understand that your contribution will go a very, very long way.
How much is the ticket?
There's
the
no
gala?
ticket.
Oh, there's no tickets.
You make a contribution.
Also, I can go and make a contribution.
You can make the contribution and then come.
Oh, you make the contribution first. Oh, I see.
The contribution, the minimum is 250.
250. That's the minimum.
Easy, yes.
Okay. Because that was when you have people to go up there and you just go. But you have a lot of people that will come and they will eat the food and they would make any contribution.
No, you make the contribution first and then you will get the invitation to attend the gala.
Oh, I see. Okay. So
remember, it's a thank you. So you would have to, what are we saying thank you for?
I will consider it.
Please do. And I hope there are others out there who will consider making that contribution. Like I said, the minimum is 250, but we will accept any amount of contribution that you send, and we will be grateful to you that you're contributing to the St. Christopher National Trust and the work we do there.
Okay. There is something that I wanted to mention to you, and I don't know if the St. Christopher National Trust has in any way given it any thought. But it has to do with the environment, our natural heritage. It is the seaweed deluge that is hitting our Caribbean shores. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Sargassum.
Yes.
It is impacting tourism, it is impacting fisheries, it is impacting wildlife, and it is, or it could pose really a long-term threat. I have never seen anything like it in my life. Something has to be done in terms of cleaning up the beaches.
I read the history behind why we're having it, and it seems to be a similar history that with the lionfish, where it came from somewhere else, and it's now polluting our region. So it's not really synonymous to St. Kitts or the region as a
Yes.
whole. But like the lionfish, it came from somewhere now. It's creating a problem for us.
And it smells.
Yes.
It stinks, really.
It does. Which is why if we have our built tourism now, we don't have to haul the people to the sea. We take them on the island and they do nice stops and learn our history, and they would not see the seaweed. That's what you call it?
Sargassum seaweed, but we still have to clean it up.
Yes. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and I've not had a discussion with our environment committee on that in terms of the impact of it, but it's something that I would definitely discuss with them and see where the National Trust can fit in that regard.
Okay. Well, Willis, we're really out of time, and I want to thank you for coming on today's program and to speak about such an important topic, that really of preserving our heritage. And I know that you couldn't have appealed enough
I couldn't.
for people to support the St. Christopher National Trust, which of course manages our National Museum, which is located in the old Treasury building, a building that holds so much history, and which was once said to be the gateway to Bastia.
It is still the gateway to Bastia.
And still the gateway to Bastia.
It is.
And to applaud you really for all the work that you're doing there, and how you're trying to get people to understand the importance of the work that you're doing at the St. Christopher National Trust, and how important it is to all of us to preserve our natural heritage, our cultural heritage, our historical heritage, and all of our heritage sites. That is important. So thank you again.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And again, we can't do it without the financial support of everyone.
Right.
Our heritage belongs to all of us.
So it's time, the 3 T's. It's time, talent, and
Money.
treasure, right? A T,
I want
which
you
is
with money.
which is money. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You have been listening to another edition of Working for You. I want to thank all of our listeners to today's program. And I would like Willis, of course, to appeal to you to support the St. Christopher National Trust. Next week we will be back with another Working for You program. Until then, I am Les Roy Williams. Have a good time.
Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Les Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.